Okay, good evening. So I want to just make this quick video about MVHR and MEV ventilation retrofits and some of the problems that we see with those and why they shouldn't really be the go-to approach in a retrofit to improve the ventilation performance of the building. MVHR, Mechanical Ventilation Heat Recovery System 4, Part F. MEV, Centralized Extraction Ventilation System 3. Okay, both of these two systems originally designed for specification, so in other words, new build. The reason for that is that they rely on ductwork, and the ductwork needs to be designed to minimise air resistance. And when you're designing a building from scratch, you can do that because you can design the runs to go through the ceiling voids and all that. When you've already built a building, it becomes difficult, stroke impossible in certain cases, to run the ducts to where you need to go, and that directly affects the system. So we see more often than not, and in my experience, I'm talking probably about 99 times out of 100, a proper design can't even be achieved in a retrofit. Obviously, if you've got, for example, a bungalow with a single loft, that's not necessarily the case. But even then, the other factors that relate to the performance of MVHR in particular come into play, like the air tightness of the building and the guidance in Part F to the stipulation really only use a strategy like that, which is much more expensive if you're going to get proper payback. And therefore, because the MVHR is designed for buildings that are very airtight, so you get balanced input and balanced extraction. If you're leaking energy to atmosphere because the building's leaky, then you're not going to get the full advantages of the energy recovery. So these are all stipulations in the building regs for that. MEV, it gets its background component from natural ventilation. And in our experience, I've rarely come across an MEV system that actually works properly, because the background component in flats particularly is heavily reliant on air transfer as well. And in our experience, a lot of systems are installed improperly. They can be switched off by the occupants, which of course completely turns the entire system off if it's an MEV or MVHR. So we see numerous examples of systems that are poorly specified, poorly designed, and then improperly installed by people. But even if they were, they still wouldn't be that effective. I mentioned in some of the prior videos that positive input ventilation is a strategy that we use. It's the only strategy in the ventilation regs that are designed for retrofit or whole home retrofits. And properly installed PIV, I mean, you need to know what you're doing, and you need to know all the dependencies, which I won't go through here. Anyone wants to talk to me about that, please come and speak to me. But if you know what you're doing with PIV, you can achieve whole house ventilation, reaching everywhere without any need for ducting or anything like that. And it's highly effective and highly efficient. I only say this simply because my company, we've been doing this for many years. My family's been involved in the industry for about 40 years. We personally have done more than 10,000 installs. We've never had a miss. And we have thousands of happy customers. We know it works as a strategy. We have done a number of MVHR retrofits. More often than not, we advise people not to do it when they ask us. And sometimes people go elsewhere because they insist on it. But you know, the only time we've ever done a retrofit is when we know we can achieve the actual design outcome, even though we always advise people that a property that's already built is likely to be far leakier, and therefore the benefits won't be achievable. So I suppose just really to sum up, there's a lot of talk about improving ventilation in buildings, especially related to net zero. The go-to strategy should be positive input ventilation. It achieves whole house ventilation without any energy loss, without any wastage of opening windows, trickle vents, air bricks, any nonsense like that, which unfortunately has become the sort of flavour of the month since the pandemic. You know, we're never going to achieve net zero if we're opening windows every winter, and we need to be thinking about whole house strategies that really work. And MVHR and MEV, MEV, you've got to discount it anyway because its background component is natural, so therefore you're shooting yourself in the foot. And MEV can rarely be achieved properly. If anyone wants to talk to me more about this, these are areas things that we really are very, very experienced with, and we'd be delighted to talk to you. Okay, bye-bye.